Take shelter of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Class. Jaya Radha Madhova Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhova Kunya Bihari Gopi Nana Balaba Iti Badadahore Gopi Nana Balaba Iti Badadahore Jananan Jona Bunate La Panachari Yamona Tebra Panachari Jana Vallabha Girivadurahode Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadurahode Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravatikacharya also Teta Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Savaya Chananada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nantakoti Vaishnava Vrind Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Hridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Gijai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Saya Makunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Kijai Vrindavan Kijai Maturam Kijai Jagadada Sami Kijai Yamunamai Kijai Shimadila Sidevi Kijai Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Kijai Gaur Premananda Hariharibo. All glorious the assembled devotees, all glorious the assembled devotees. All glorious the assembled devotees, all glorious to Shri Gurun Gauranga Shilapopad Ki Jai. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deja Tarni. So, is there any part of the Bhagavatam you're reading from especially?
Yeah. Let's see. This is the source of all incarnations.
Just give me the...
And we're in text 13.
Okay, text 13, chapter 3, okay.
All right?
Is that chapter 3, text 13?
Yes.
Okay,
No, yes, okay. Get to 1, chapter 2. All right.
1, 3, 13.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me go to that. Mm-hmm.
First king.
Yeah. 1, 3, 13. Here we go. All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right. Ashtame Merudevyam Tu Naber Jata Urukrama Darshayan Vartma Dhiranam Sarvashrama Namaskritam Ashtame Merudevyam Tu Naber Jata Urukrama Darshayan Vartmadiranam Sarvashrama Namaskritam Ashtame Merudevyam Tu Naber Jata Urukrama Darshayan Vartmadiranam Sarvashramas Namaskritam Ashtame Merudevyam Tu Naber Jata Urukrama Darshayan Vartmadiranam Sarvashrama Namaskritam. Okay. Ashtame Merudevyam Tu Naber Jata Urukrama Darshayam Vartmadiranam Sarvashrama Namaskritam. I guess no one else wants to do it. Ashtame, the eighth of the incarnations. Merudevyam, 2, in the womb of Merudevi, the wife of Nabe, King Nabi. Jata, took birth. Urukrama, the all-powerful Lord. Dashayan, by showing. Vartma, the way. Dhiranam, of the perfect beings. Sarva, all. Ashrama, orders of life. Namaskritam, honored by. Translation. The eighth incarnation was King Rishabha, the son of King Nabi and his wife Merudevi. In this incarnation, the Lord showed the path of perfection, which is followed by those who have fully controlled their senses and who are honored by all orders of life. So, purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai. Actually, a long purport, okay. The society of human beings is naturally divided into 8 orders and statuses of life. The 4 divisions of occupation and the 4 divisions of cultural advancement. The intelligent class, the administrative class, the productive class, and the laborer class are the 4 divisions of occupation. That's the varnas. And the student life, the householder's life, retired life, and renounced life are the 4 statuses of cultural advancement towards the path of spiritual realization. Out of these, the renounced order of life, or the order of sannyasas, considered the highest of all, and a sannyasi is constitutionally the spiritual master for all the orders and divisions. In the sannyas order, there are 4 stages of upliftment toward perfection. These stages are Kudichak, Bodhak, Parvajakacharya, and Paramahamsa. The Paramahamsa stage of life is the highest stage of perfection. This order of life is respected by all others. Maharaja Rishabha, the son of King Nabi and Merudevi, was an incarnation of the Lord, and he instructed his sons to follow the path of perfection by tapasya, which sanctifies one's existence and enables one to attain the stage of spiritual happiness, which is eternal and ever increasing. Every living being is searching after, God bless you. Every living being is searching after happiness, but no one knows where eternal and limited happiness is obtainable. Foolish men seek after material sense pleasure as a substitute for real happiness, but such foolish men forget that temporary so-called happiness derived from sense pleasure is also enjoyed by the dogs and the hogs. No animal, bird, or beast is bereft of the sense pleasure. In every species of life, including the human form of life, such happiness is immensely obtainable. The human form of life, however, is not meant for such cheap happiness. The human life is meant for attaining eternal and unlimited happiness by spiritual realization. This spiritual realization is obtained by tapasya, or undergoing voluntarily the path of penance and abstinence from material pleasure. Those who have been trained for abstinence and material pleasures are called dhira, or men undisturbed by the senses. Only these dhiras can accept the orders of sannyas, and they can gradually rise to the status of Paramahamsa, which is adored by all members of society. King Rishabha propagated this mission, and at the last stage he became completely aloof from all the material bodily needs, which is a rare stage not to be imitated by foolish men, but to be worshipped by all. And anyway, we'll go back to the verse and read the Sanskrit again. Ashtame Merudevyam tu nabir jata gurukrama darshayan vartmatiranam sarvashrama namaskritam. So Om Gana Timirandasha Gananjana Shlakya Chakshur Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, in the 5th canto we find all the information, not all the information, but a lot of information about Lord Rishabadeva. And so Lord Rishabadeva followed, as Prabhupada points out here, the perfect varnashrama system. He was a perfect king, as a householder, and then he was a perfect renunciate. And as a perfect king, Prabhupada here in the purport makes reference to Lord Rishabadeva's instructions to his 100 sons, headed up by Bart Maharaj. And Prabhupada here is paraphrased. It's interesting. Prabhupada is paraphrasing one particular verse in the 5th canto, which is a very wonderful verse that Prabhupada would often quote. It's Nayam Deho Deha Bhajamri Loke Kashtam Kamam Arhate Vidbujam Ye Tapo Divyam Puch Yena Satwad Shudyad Yasmad Ramashokum Churanantam. And Prabhupada would often give a whole class about this particular verse. So, Nayam Deho Deha Bhajamri Loke, you have attained with difficulty this human form of life. And as we know, there's 8,400,000 species of life. And we are Brahmanda Brahmate Konna Bhagavan Jiva Krishna Guru Prasadi Bhai Bhakti Lata Beach. We're transferring ourselves from one species to another, and somehow or other we have the mercy of having the contact with Srila Prabhupada, who has given us all our Bhakti Lata Beach. So Rishabadeva says that, yeah, you've taken it. It's very rare to have a human birth. Of course, also Prahlad Maharaj talks about this in the 7th canto. He says, Durlabham Manasa Janma, Tadap Dhruva Martadam. Isn't it? Komara Macharet Pragya, Dharmam Bhagavatang Miva. That you should take up this Krishna consciousness immediately, from the time you're a little kid. Charat Pragyo, Acharat means imperative, because you've taken a very rare form of life, which is the human being, meant for self-realization. So you may say human beings are not rare. We have how many billion? 5 billion, 6 billion on the earth? Well, I tell you, we got more than 6 billion living entities in this room. Microbes, bacteria, little COVID viruses. You got more than 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 billion. God knows how many are in this room. So it's rare. Even in this room, it's rare to be a human being. And amongst those that are human beings, most of them don't act like human beings. Not any of you, of course. Most of you don't act. Most of people act like animals, and that's described by Lord Rishabha in that particular verse. Naim Deho Deho Bhajam Riloke. Kashtam kamam arhate vidbujam ye. Most people act like the pigs, which Lord Rishabadeva has a very interesting term for a pig. He says the stool eaters in that particular verse. And any of you who've been to Vrindavan, that's what the pigs do. They eat the stool. And incidentally, also the dogs do too. You may think the dog is so cute, wonderful, you want to kiss it. Like in America, they want to have these pets, isn't it? But I had experience. I was living in the forest for 15 years doing austerities. And there was just a hole in the ground, which is a latrine, and the dog would come and clean it out every day. So, so stool eater, vidbujam ye. And then he says, Tapo divyam putrika. My dear sons, you should engage in transcendental austerity. Yena satvam, sujed jazat brahmashoka chwanantam. And this way you can actually enjoy unlimited ananta brahmashokya, happiness, spiritual happiness, unlimitedly. So this is Lord Rishabhadeva's instruction to his sons, and actually this instruction applies to us too. But not in the sense of, heavy physical austerities, but our austerity is, according to Rupa Goswami, accepting everything favorable, rejecting everything unfavorable. The 6 principles of Sharanagati. Yeah. That's our austerity. Jai! Shishi, Radharani Kanta, Purnitai, Baladev, Subhadra, Maharani, Subhadra Maharani, Jagannath Ki Jai. So, anyway, yes, our austerity is encapsulated in these 6 principles of surrender, the Sharanagati. And the first 2 are accept everything favorable, and the second one is reject everything unfavorable, and to always understand. Next one is always understand the Lord is always protecting one, then always understand the Lord is maintaining one. Nitya Nityanam, Chaitanya Chaitananam, Eko Bahunam, Yobadiratikam. And then to have no separate interest other than the interest of the Lord, and always be meek and humble. These are the 6 principles, and that's our tapodivyam. You don't become Krishna conscious by eating very little or sleeping very little. You become Krishna conscious by, yat karosi yadashnasi yajahoshi dadasiyat. Everything you do, everything you offer being done for Krishna under the directions in the Krishna conscious movement of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. That's the austerity. Prabhupada says go here, you go there. And if Prabhupada says don't go there, don't go there. Prabhupada says do something, you do it. That's the austerity. Like in the beginning days, Prabhupada gave us so much, what we consider to be austerities, like don't associate with non-devotees, don't eat food cooked by non-devotees, things like that. No intoxication, illicit sex, gambling, and meat eating. So these are austerities. So anyway, that was where Lord Rishabadeva's teachings to his sons, and of course Bharat Maharaj. He also, here's another thing. He advised all of his sons to work cooperatively with Bharat Maharaj, who would become the king. It's a very, very interesting story. And actually, India is named after Bharat Maharaj. And also, there's 2 Bharats. There's Dushmanta Bharat, you understand, the son of Sakuntala, and there's this Bharat Maharaj, the son of Lord Rishabadeva, and India is named after this Bharat, and all the sons of Rishabadeva, the 99 sons, there's the Navayogendras, some of them were Kshatriyas, some of them were ritualistic Brahmanas. It's interesting, how they, even though they were sons of a Kshatriya, that's another point that Prabhupada makes, is even though they were the sons of a Kshatriya, they actually had different varnas. Isn't that interesting? That, of course, not all the different varnas, but there were ritualistic Brahmanas, and there were transcendentalists, the Navayogendras, and then there were Kshatriyas amongst them. So also Lord Rishabadeva was showing us that what guna karma vibhagasha, that someone is chaturvarna mayashrastam guna karma vibhagasha. Someone is understood to be of a particular varna according to his guna, his qualities, and his work. So this is, interesting, many, many lessons Lord Rishabadeva gave us. And Prabhupada here is pointing out, actually the final lesson that Lord Rishabadeva gave us was his taking sannyas. Because everybody is meant at what we call the fag end of life. Of course, you can't use that expression anymore, because that may offend certain people. But at the end of life, for taking the renounced order. Now, in Kali Yuga, Bhaktivinoda Thakur states that the preferable order of sannyas is called Kshetra sannyas. Kshetra sannyas means that one can remain with one's family, but serve the deities or serve in a particular holy place. Gadadhar Pandit Goswami, he wasn't married, but he was in that order of Kshetra sannyas. He had taken a vow to serve in Jagannath Puri, and he was serving Tota Gopinath. And so this is his service. Of course, at one point he almost neglected that order of Kshetra sannyas by leaving Jagannath Puri to follow Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But that's the preferable order. And the real renunciation in our Krishna consciousness movement is to be dedicated to Prabhupada's movement. So it really doesn't matter, in one sense, for someone who is dedicated to Prabhupada's movement. Kiva Vipra, Kiva Nyashi, Shudra Kena Noi, Ye Krishna Tattva Veta, Se Guru Hoy. And Lord Chaitanya said, I'm not a sannyasi, I'm not a Brahman, Gopi Bharta Padakamala, Dasa Dasa Dasanu Das. That's actual renunciation. But according to the strict varnashram system, and we really don't follow all these different orders of sannyas now. Prabhupada talks about the 4 different orders. I guess we should explain them even though we don't do them. The first order of sannyas in the traditional Vedic context is when one leaves his home, but he remains in the same village, and his wife sends him food. He doesn't see the wife. The son actually brings the food, because, people who have lived the household life for so many years, after a while, they can't figure out how to cook for themselves anymore. It happens. I had one of my friends, his wife left him, he's from India, and he was like 50 years old, and his parents, who are still alive, they said, now you have to get remarried again. And he said, why? They said, because you have to eat. And I said, better you learn how to cook, it's cheaper than getting married. Getting married at 50. It's not really generally what should be done, although people do it. You can't criticize. So, generally, so in the old days, yes, the man would be so dependent on someone to do this and that for him that they would bring the food from his wife and he'd be in the same village. Okay. Then after a while, he figured, well, maybe Krishna's taking care of me. And the next stage is the Madhukari stage, where he would go door to door and ask for like 1 roti at each house. And traditionally, that was why the sannyasis had this cape thing, because they could collect grains, not money. It's not like nowadays the sannyasis, they may have credit cards and credit card machines and everything like that. Isn't it? They go, all right, we take credit cards, donation, big shot. Anyway, so, just like said, sometimes I go, when I'm at Govardhan, I was just there, then they ask me for a donation, I just hold my cape out and say, no, me. And they started laughing and leave me alone at that point. So that's the next stage of sannyas. And basically they're only supposed to take 1 roti or 1 chapati at each house, not more than that. The next stage of sannyas is called parvajakacharya, where they wander freely and preach Krishna consciousness and depend on Krishna, and they can also ask for prasadam. But they're not concerned. They know Krishna is providing for them. And then the final stage of sannyas is the Paramahansa stage, where basically at the Paramahansa stage, there's not so much traveling. One depends on Krishna. Even if they travel, one depends on Krishna for food. One doesn't ask Krishna for any food. Just like Sripad Madhvacharya, when he was at Govardhan, he didn't ask anyone for food, right? But then who came? Little Gopal came and brought him some kheer. And then Gopal revealed to him in a dream that he was hidden in the bushes, and that, of course, was the deity of Gopal, who later on became known as Nachi, or Sri Nachi. And he's a Natwar right now. So that's the Paramahansa stage. Now it's interesting that when we're paying obeisances or respects to Prabhupada, we say Paramahansa Parvajakacharya. That's interesting, isn't it? The reason for that is that he is a qualified Paramahamsa, I mean, a spiritual, coming from the spiritual world, Nityasiddha devotee, right-hand man of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, obviously. But he's taken the role out of compassion of a Parvajakacharya to preach. Because most cases, if someone is just acting as the Paramahansa, they don't preach. They're just absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And so Lord Rishabadeva, and so anyway, so someone like Prabhupada, out of his compassion, he doesn't lose his Paramahansa status, but he's so compassionate that he comes to save us. You understand? He could just be absorbed. I mean, we can't understand what that means. He could just sit there and be absorbed in eternal Leela with Krishna. And because of his compassion, he leaves that. It's just like if one can imagine, all right, let's give an example. Let's say you're watching a fantastic movie about Krishna, maybe, hopefully, and you're a doctor and someone gets sick in the audience. So out of compassion, you actually leave the movie, and to help the person who got sick or had a heart attack in the audience. So it's like that, Paravajaka, Paramahansa. Paravajaka, Paramahansa, Paravajakacharya. So Lord Rishabadeva, he took the Paramahansa role directly and did this type of yoga called Jada Yoga. You heard of Jada Yoga before? Jada Yoga means you act dumb, like a stone.
Yeah, it does.
It's called Jada Yoga, which Srila Prabhupada comments in his purport to in the 5th canto, that this is what the Jains tried to imitate. And, Mahavir and so many of the Jains, Tirthankaras, that means the saints in the Jain religion, they were imitating. There was a Maharaj Arhat. Hare Krishna. Buenos dias, Señor. So there was this Maharaj Arhat who imitated Lord Rishabadeva, and Prabhupada said there's a complete concoction. That's there in the Bhagavatam. And so, but Lord Rishabadeva, he wandered everywhere, and people would defame him, pass air in front of him, throw stones at him, and because Lord Rishabadeva was on the topmost platform of devotional service, or incarnation, avatar, even he passed stool, and the stool was as fragrant as sandalwood and roses,
80 miles around.
Yeah, they could hear for how many yojanas?
80 miles.
80 miles, you could smell it, and it was just like, wow, this is fantastic. But if we do it for 80 miles, people want to hold their noses. So, anyway, that was Lord Rishabadeva, and interestingly enough, that Jada Bharta, who was, let's say, second incarnation of Bharat Maharaj, followed the same path. And one of the reasons for that is not to engage in ordinary social dealings and get deviated from one's spiritual path. And we also find in the modern day, Srila Gaurkishordas Babaji many times acted like that too, like a crazy person. And then you have Vamsidas Babaji, who's even more like that, so people just what's happening? And it took someone like Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur to actually understand Vamsidas Babaji's position, isn't it? And Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur too. So you find that sometimes someone in this highest status of life, they'll act like a complete idiot or crazy person just so that no one will bother them. So that's what Lord Rishabadeva did. And so that's a perfect example. After the kingdom was taken care of by his sons, he left. And you find this in the case of many great kings, that they read. The Pandavas retired timely. Lord Ramchandra retired when Lava and Kush were ready to take over the kingdom. You find this is very, very important, this aspect of varnashrama. A certain time of life is meant for full-time spiritual absorption. So one may ask, why in ISKCON our sannyasis keep preaching? Because that is Prabhupada's example. Prabhupada, as the Acharya, has shown us the real renunciation is, as we mentioned in the beginning of the class, to follow Prabhupada's example and to do what pleases Krishna. And, like Prabhupada said, in the morning he would go give class, and in the afternoon go to the bank. So, that's the actual renunciation that's required of the members of the Krishna conscious movement, to do the needful, to spread Krishna consciousness. And the actual renunciation is to please His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. So we don't do this jhana yoga in the Krishna consciousness movement. So, any questions or comments? Yeah.
Just like the Uttamadakari volunteer, we steps down as a volunteer.
Yeah.
To the Madhyama platform we wanted to preach.
Yeah.
Because the Uttama doesn't necessarily make distinctions. Everybody's engaged in devotional service.
Yeah.
That's the only distinction he makes. So to preach, you have to make distinctions.
Right.
I have another point here. You have something I forgot my point.
So you're probably asking, what's his motivation to step down if he sees everyone engaged in Krishna?
He doesn't. We know that place verse where Krishna says that for somebody that never was there, nor is there, nor in the future shall it be more one dear to me, and he who preaches the
Right.
message.
Right.
Devotees. And Prabhupada commented at least one time saying that we have a double task. We have to make them devotee, and then we have to preach them and learn from Bhagavad Gita about that. Also, austerities and penances, it may externally seem to one who is not trained that other times of impersonalistic yogis and gyanis, etc., may seem more austere, therefore you might think they're more advanced.
Right.
But certain kinds of austerities hurt one, actually.
Yeah.
They make the heart very hard and callous, and you can't feel. And that includes Krishna. You can't feel for Krishna, so what's the point? So even though our austerities have to be accepted via the parampara, otherwise we get
Right.
astray.
Yeah, that actually Krishna also says that he who tortures the body of the super soul dwelling within is to be known as a demon anyway. So, the Prabhupada talked about how people do austerities for political purposes.
But the Vaishnava sannyasi doesn't have to surround themselves with fires in the summer or submerge in ice water in winter. Because practically he's living in Krishna, so there's no necessity.
Yeah, that's actually what Lord Jadabart says. Rahuganaita tapasya yati nichejya nirvat panad grahadva nachandasa naiva janag suryar vinal mahatpada rajobhishekam. That one doesn't need exactly what you said to put themselves in fire in the summer or ice in the winter. They just have to take the dust of a great devotee. In other words, serve a great devotee. Actually, Prabhupada, we read yesterday, there was one austerity that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that is the duty of a person who was a member of the Gaudiya Math. He said, I wish that every selfless, tender-hearted person of the Gaudiya Math will be prepared to shed 200 gallons of blood for the nourishment of the spiritual corpus of every individual of the world. So that's pretty austere. That's a quote from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
Prabhupada made very easier for us, at least.
Yeah, but it's a great austerity for preaching.
Yeah, men who are in preaching. Yeah.
For preaching, it is a great, and we have to really care for people.
Yeah.
Just like it takes a lot of effort. I mean, to make, in America at least, to make each devotee is a very difficult thing. I mean, in India, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier. Phew. I mean, I was just speaking to one devotee yesterday who helped start the temple in Madras. And I was calling India. And he was telling me that in the beginning of Madras, the temple, of course Banamarj is running it now, but in the beginning, he just put an advertisement out. Anyone who wants to live free from anxiety and, serve Krishna. And he got like 300 or 400 people coming to the temple, and he got a chance to screen them, and he got a few good devotees out of that. In America, it wouldn't work like that.
Yeah.
You say anyone who wants to live a life free from anxiety, free food, and everything like that, you get all the street people. And none of them would chant Hare Krishna or get up early in the morning. So, it does, Prabhupada really shed gallons of blood for us. And that's the austerity. All right. I think that's good. Everybody else ran away. I guess they're all transcendental, doing jata yoga or something, yeah. Or taxi yoga or something.